You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Technical debt in security automation refers to the hidden costs that accumulate when teams take shortcuts, leave scripts undocumented, or rely on fragile integrations that are never revisited. Just like financial debt, technical debt allows work to move forward quickly in the short term, but leaves behind an obligation that will eventually need to be repaid with interest. In security automation, this often takes the form of hastily written one-off scripts created to solve immediate problems without regard for long-term maintainability. Other times it shows up as fragile integrations between tools that break whenever a vendor updates an API. Technical debt can also stem from siloed practices, where a single engineer builds critical automation that no one else understands or documents. These shortcuts might seem harmless at the time, but over months or years, they create brittle foundations. When incidents strike and speed is critical, technical debt transforms what should be helpful automation into liabilities that slow response and increase risk. The consequences of technical debt in automation are far-reaching. Fragile scripts often fail unpredictably, increasing the number of false positives analysts must sort through and adding unnecessary noise to already overwhelmed teams. Debt also drives up maintenance overhead. Instead of focusing on building new strategic automation, engineers spend countless hours patching brittle code, fixing integrations, or rewriting scripts from scratch after every environment change. This fragility directly impacts security operations. When an automated workflow designed to enrich or remediate alerts fails mid-execution, it delays response and increases mean time to detection or containment. Worse, technical debt compounds. The longer fragile automation is allowed to persist, the more workarounds are built on top of it, increasing complexity and making remediation even harder later. For security teams, the burden of this debt means less efficiency, higher operational risk, and more frustration as the promise of automation is undermined by instability. Common sources of technical debt in automation are easy to recognize once you start looking for them. One major contributor is the proliferation of one-off scripts written to solve urgent problems but never refactored into reusable tools. Another source is unversioned tools, scripts, or workflows not tracked in version control, leaving teams without history, accountability, or rollback options. Hard-coded endpoints and credentials are another common debt source, creating brittle automation that breaks when systems are upgraded and exposing security risks if secrets leak. Unmaintained third-party libraries or outdated dependencies can also accumulate silently, introducing vulnerabilities and compatibility issues over time. Even small conveniences like skipping input validation or ignoring error handling create fragile systems that break unpredictably. What unites all these sources is the mindset of just make it work now without investing in long-term sustainability. While understandable in emergencies, over time this approach piles up hidden costs that erode the value of automation. The true cost of technical debt in automation is not just measured in lines of messy code, but in operational outcomes. Increased mean time to repair becomes inevitable when scripts fail unpredictably, forcing engineers into firefighting mode. Outages may occur during automated runs, where fragile workflows apply changes incorrectly and disrupt production systems. Stale playbooks add further costs. Automations that once reflected current processes drift out of alignment, causing more harm than help when executed. These failures damage trust in automation, pushing teams back toward manual work even when automation could have been safe and efficient. For leaders, the financial cost is significant. Instead of building value through innovation, teams spend budget and time servicing old mistakes, much like paying interest on a loan without reducing the principal. The longer technical debt is ignored, the more expensive it becomes to address, often requiring full rewrites rather than incremental fixes. In security, these costs also translate into higher risk, slower incident response, and increased exposure to threats. Detecting technical debt requires both observation and measurement. Orphan scripts, those no longer owned or maintained by any team, are one red flag. Failing tests, whether in CI/CD pipelines or sandbox runs, signal automation that is drifting away from reliability. Unmaintained libraries or outdated runtime versions often indicate hidden vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. Jobs without clear owners or zombie automation that continues running without oversight are another symptom. Documentation gaps, where no one can clearly explain what a script does or why it was written, further highlight debt. By systematically cataloging automation assets and checking for these indicators, organizations can map where debt exists. For learners, it is useful to imagine technical debt detection as conducting a health inspection. Just as expired food, broken equipment, and unlabeled containers indicate hidden risk in a kitchen, orphaned, failing, or undocumented automation signals risks that may not be visible day to day but can cause major damage under stress. Not all technical debt is equally urgent, so prioritization is necessary. Teams should triage automation debt based on business impact, frequency of use, and the risk of failure. A brittle script used daily to enrich phishing alerts has far higher priority than one rarely used for a quarterly audit. Similarly, automation that touches sensitive systems, like identity management or firewall rules, carries greater risk if it fails and should be prioritized for remediation. By aligning prioritization with risk and usage, teams avoid wasting effort fixing scripts that are rarely used while leaving critical workflows vulnerable. Frequency of use also ties directly to efficiency gains. Fixing high-use automation quickly pays dividends by reducing recurring maintenance. The key is treating technical debt not as a vague backlog, but as specific, measurable risk items that can be triaged alongside other security priorities. This approach transforms debt from an overwhelming abstract problem into actionable tasks. Refactoring strategies provide the path to reducing debt. One approach is modularization, breaking monolithic scripts into smaller, reusable modules that can be tested and maintained independently. Proper packaging, such as bundling scripts with clear dependencies and versioning, increases reliability across environments. Centralizing shared utilities prevents duplication, ensuring teams use the same well-maintained functions rather than writing their own ad hoc versions. Refactoring also involves improving error handling, adding input validation, and ensuring scripts fail safely. While these changes may take time up front, they dramatically reduce future maintenance overhead. The payoff is automation that is more resilient, portable, and easier to extend. For learners, think of refactoring like renovating a house. Instead of patching leaks endlessly, you fix the foundation and wiring, so the whole structure becomes more stable. Refactoring removes fragility, builds confidence, and restores automation's value as a reliable force multiplier rather than a source of constant firefighting. Documentation and onboarding practices help prevent technical debt from accumulating in the first place. When automation is undocumented, knowledge often resides only in the mind of the original author. If that person leaves or moves roles, the organization inherits debt in the form of tools no one understands or dares to touch. Clear documentation explains what a script does, how it works, and how to troubleshoot or update it. Onboarding new team members into automation practices also helps spread knowledge, reducing single-person silos. This not only lowers risk but also improves collaboration, as multiple people can contribute to and maintain the same workflows. Documentation does not need to be exhaustive but should cover intent, usage, inputs, outputs, and ownership. For learners, this can be compared to assembly instructions for complex furniture. Without instructions, mistakes pile up. With them, anyone can step in and rebuild the system as needed. Documentation preserves institutional knowledge and reduces fragility. Continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD, pipelines provide powerful mechanisms for preventing new technical debt from creeping into automation. By integrating scripts into CI/CD, every change is automatically tested before deployment. Unit tests verify individual functions. Integration tests validate end-to-end workflows, and linting tools enforce coding standards. This ensures that broken or insecure code is caught early. Version control systems track every change, providing rollback options and accountability. Automated pipelines also enforce consistency across environments, eliminating the problem of, "It worked on my machine." Integrating automation scripts into CI/CD elevates them to the same level of discipline as software development, making them sustainable over the long term. Without CI/CD integration, debt creeps in silently through untested changes and one-off fixes. With it, teams gain confidence that automation remains reliable, resilient, and compliant as it evolves. This proactive defense stops debt at the door before it accumulates into major liabilities. Monitoring flaky automation is another critical strategy. Flaky automation refers to jobs that sometimes succeed and sometimes fail without clear reasons. These inconsistencies erode trust and force humans to double-check results, defeating the purpose of automation. Monitoring systems can detect when jobs fail, time out, or behave inconsistently. Alerting mechanisms notify teams when failure rates exceed acceptable thresholds, prompting investigation and remediation. Over time, monitoring reveals patterns, such as failures tied to certain inputs, dependencies, or environments. By addressing the root causes, teams gradually stabilize flaky automation and reduce maintenance burdens. For learners, flaky automation is like a car that sometimes starts and sometimes doesn't. It technically works, but no one trusts it to get them to work on time. Monitoring and fixing flakiness restores reliability, ensuring automation remains a dependable partner in security operations rather than a frustrating liability. Governance provides structure for reducing technical debt systematically. This means scheduling dedicated remediation sprints where the sole focus is paying down automation debt. These sprints should have measurable goals, such as reducing the number of orphaned scripts by 50% or eliminating all hard-coded credentials in a given quarter. Governance also includes setting policies, requiring version control for all scripts, enforcing ownership assignments, and mandating tests before deployment. Without governance, technical debt remediation is always deferred in favor of urgent tasks. With governance, debt reduction becomes part of normal operations, preventing it from spiraling out of control. For learners, think of governance like preventative maintenance on machinery. You can ignore it and deal with breakdowns later, or you can schedule regular maintenance and avoid costly outages. Governance ensures that automation debt is managed intentionally rather than reactively, protecting the long-term reliability of security operations. A practical starting point is to identify the top 3 automation jobs with the highest failure or maintenance cost. These may be scripts that constantly break after updates, workflows that generate large volumes of false positives, or jobs that require constant manual babysitting. Add these jobs to a remediation sprint and assign ownership for their refactoring. Ensure they are placed under version control, tested in CI/CD pipelines, and redeployed with clear documentation. This small step produces immediate benefits by reducing daily frustration and reclaiming time spent fixing the same problems repeatedly. It also demonstrates the value of technical debt reduction to leadership, showing that investing in remediation produces tangible efficiency gains. For learners, this exercise illustrates the principle of attacking the biggest pain points first. By focusing on high-impact automation debt, organizations can generate momentum, reduce risk quickly, and create breathing room to tackle smaller issues over time. Metrics provide the visibility needed to understand how much technical debt exists in automation and how effectively it is being reduced. Useful measures include the flaky run rate, which tracks how often automated jobs fail inconsistently, the mean time to fix automation failures, which shows how quickly broken jobs are repaired, and the percentage of scripts with clear ownership, which reveals how much automation is actively maintained versus orphaned. These numbers move automation debt out of the shadows and into quantifiable terms. Without them, leaders may underestimate the scope of fragility. With them, teams can prioritize debt strategically, justify remediation resources, and track improvement over time. For example, if flaky run rates drop by 30% after a remediation sprint, that proves technical debt reduction has measurable value. For learners, think of metrics like a credit score for automation, numbers that reflect the health of the system and provide an objective way to guide decisions about where to invest. Ownership models are essential for sustainable automation. Each script, playbook, or job must have a clear owner responsible for its maintenance. Without ownership, tools drift into neglect, leaving organizations vulnerable to failures at critical moments. Assigning responsibility ensures someone monitors logs, updates dependencies, and responds to failures. Ownership should also include defined service level agreements, or SLAs, which specify expected response times when automation breaks. This formalizes accountability and prevents jobs from languishing unrepaired. Ownership models may assign responsibility to individuals for small tools or to teams for broader playbooks. What matters most is clarity. Everyone should know who to call when automation fails. For learners, ownership is like labeling the circuit breakers in a building. If something trips, you need to know who controls it. Without clear ownership, automation failures become emergencies where no one feels accountable, increasing downtime and risk. Deprecation and retirement processes are necessary for dealing with obsolete scripts and playbooks. Not all automation remains valuable forever. As systems change, some scripts become outdated, redundant, or even dangerous if executed. Without formal retirement, these artifacts linger, confusing new staff and increasing risk of accidental use. Deprecation is the first step, marking a script as outdated and providing guidance on alternatives. Retirement is the final step, where the script is removed from circulation and version control. Documenting these processes ensures that when a script is retired, there is no ambiguity about why or when. For learners, it helps to think of automation like medication-expired medicine left on a shelf can cause harm if taken. Similarly, obsolete scripts left in repositories may create errors or vulnerabilities if used. Retirement ensures that automation ecosystems remain lean, relevant, and trustworthy, with no dangerous leftovers waiting to cause disruption. Dependency hygiene plays a critical role in managing technical debt. Most automation relies on external libraries, frameworks, or APIs. Over time, these dependencies can become outdated, introducing vulnerabilities or incompatibilities. Good hygiene means periodically updating dependencies, scanning them for known vulnerabilities, and pinning versions so automation runs predictably across environments. Vulnerability scanning is especially important because attackers often target unpatched libraries. Pinning versions prevent surprises from breaking changes introduced by updates. Regular reviews of dependencies prevent silent accumulation of risk. Without hygiene, organizations inherit vulnerabilities from external sources without realizing it. With it, they maintain a healthy foundation where automation runs securely and consistently. For learners, dependency hygiene is like routine maintenance on a car. Ignoring oil changes or brake checks may seem fine in the short term but creates long-term risk. By keeping dependencies updated and clean, automation avoids breakdowns and silent weaknesses. Reducing cognitive load is another way to address automation debt. Scripts and playbooks that are overly complex, poorly named, or have confusing inputs increase the burden on operators. When systems are difficult to understand, errors multiply, and onboarding new staff becomes harder. To reduce cognitive load, automation should use sensible naming conventions, clearly defined inputs and outputs, and straightforward configuration. Simplification helps teams focus on what matters rather than deciphering convoluted workflows. This is not just about convenience. It directly reduces errors and increases reliability. For learners, imagine trying to drive a car where the pedals are unlabeled and the dashboard has dozens of unnecessary gauges. Even skilled drivers would struggle. Simplified automation is like a clean, intuitive dashboard. It allows focus on the road ahead rather than wrestling with controls. Reducing cognitive load ensures automation helps rather than hinders operations. Staging and canary deployment provide safety nets for automation changes. Just as software updates are tested in staging before production, automation changes should follow the same discipline. New scripts or updates should first be tested in non-production environments, allowing teams to catch errors without risk. Canary deployments add another layer, rolling out changes gradually to a subset of targets before scaling up. If problems arise, only a small portion of systems are affected, limiting the blast radius. For learners, this is like testing a new recipe by cooking a small batch before serving it at a banquet. If it fails, the damage is limited, and adjustments can be made before scaling up. Staging and canarying create resilience by acknowledging that errors will happen, but containing them. They transform automation deployment from risky all-or-nothing rollouts into controlled, measured improvements. Code review and pair programming are powerful practices for reducing single points of failure in automation. Having multiple eyes on a script ensures that mistakes, inefficiencies, and risky practices are caught before deployment. Pair programming spreads knowledge, ensuring that no automation tool depends solely on one individual. This reduces silos and ensures continuity if someone leaves the organization. Code review also reinforces coding standards, ensuring consistency across teams. For learners, this can be compared to pilots running pre-flight checklists together. Even experienced pilots benefit from a second perspective to catch overlooked details. Code review and collaboration prevent automation debt from accumulating silently in isolated corners, replacing risky one-off efforts with shared, sustainable practices. The more teams normalize collaborative development, the less fragile their automation ecosystem becomes over time. Runbooks are another safeguard against automation debt. A runbook documents what automation does, how to trigger it, and what to do if it fails mid-execution. Without runbooks, teams are left improvising when automation malfunctions, wasting time, and increasing risk. Runbooks provide step-by-step guidance for troubleshooting, ensuring consistent responses regardless of who is on call. They also preserve institutional knowledge, reducing reliance on memory or tribal knowledge. For learners, think of runbooks as the emergency manual for a complex machine. When something goes wrong, you do not want to guess, you want clear instructions. Documenting runbooks for every significant automation job ensures failures are manageable and predictable rather than chaotic. They transform automation from brittle, person-dependent scripts into resilient, team-owned processes that can survive stress and turnover. Budget allocation for technical debt reduction is often overlooked but crucial. Without dedicated time and resources, debt remediation always loses out to urgent operational tasks. Allocating a portion of budget and sprint cycles to continuous refactoring ensures debt is addressed systematically. This investment may seem costly up front, but it saves far more in reduced downtime, lower maintenance overhead, and faster incident response. Leaders must treat debt remediation as a long-term investment in reliability, not as optional cleanup work. For learners, it is like repairing the foundation of a house. It is less glamorous than new paint, but without it, the entire structure is at risk. By budgeting for technical debt reduction, organizations acknowledge its importance and ensure automation remains sustainable. Skipping this step almost guarantees that debt will grow until it becomes too expensive and disruptive to ignore. Culture is equally important in managing technical debt. Encouraging a mindset of "leave it better than you found it" ensures every small contribution helps reduce fragility. This means that when engineers touch a script, they clean it up, add documentation, or improve error handling, even if those tasks are not explicitly assigned. Over time, this incremental improvement builds momentum, transforming automation into a more stable system. Culture also means discouraging shadow automation tools built outside governance that bypass standards. A positive culture reframes debt reduction from a chore into a shared responsibility, making it part of everyday work. For learners, this is like leaving a campsite cleaner than you found it. Each person's effort may seem small, but collectively it builds healthier, more sustainable environments. Building this culture ensures technical debt is managed continuously, rather than only during crises. Periodic audits uncover hidden automation debt that may have slipped through cracks. Shadow automation, orphan scripts, or outdated playbooks often linger undetected until they fail at the worst possible moment. Audits review repositories, CI/CD pipelines, and production systems to ensure all automation is documented, tested, and owned. These reviews also identify gaps where standards are not being followed. By conducting audits regularly, organizations prevent silent accumulation of debt and keep their automation ecosystems aligned with best practices. For learners, think of audits as annual health checkups. Even if you feel fine, a checkup may reveal hidden issues before they become serious. Audits play the same role for automation, ensuring problems are surfaced and corrected proactively rather than discovered during crises. Ultimately, managing technical debt in automation is an ongoing program, not a one-time cleanup. It requires measurement to quantify debt, ownership to ensure accountability, testing to maintain quality, and governance to prioritize remediation. Budget and culture sustain the program, while audits keep it honest. Left unmanaged, automation debt grows silently, undermining reliability and increasing operational risk. Managed proactively, automation debt becomes an opportunity to strengthen systems, spread knowledge, and build resilience. For learners, the key lesson is that technical debt is inevitable. Every shortcut incurs it. What matters is how it is managed. By allocating time, applying best practices, and embedding debt management into the culture, organizations turn automation from fragile quick fixes into sustainable force multipliers that enhance security operations rather than holding them back. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.